All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon, and in this video, we're going to talk about the heavyweight division and specifically what Bob Arum says is next for Tyson Fury, if it's in the United States or if it's in the UK. Let's talk about that in this video. All right, welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Fanon. Before I get into the subject matter of the video, though, please make sure that you support the sponsor for this video and betting partner, busr.ag/Fanon. If you enter in the promotional codes, you will definitely get, there's new benefits all the time if you bet on boxing, basketball, or what have you. So make sure you guys go over there and support them, and also hit the like button, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. All right, so we're starting to get a little bit of visibility into what's going to go on in the heavyweight division. As we know, we've got two champions in the division right now. We have Tyson Fury, and we have Alexander Usyk. Alexander Usyk is set to make a fight with Anthony Joshua in a rematch in the first quarter of next year. But the big mystery is, what is Tyson Fury going to do? There was rumors that Tyson Fury was going to vacate his belt, his WBC belt. That is not the case. Bob Arum definitely clarified that today when talking about what was coming next with him. And he says that basically what's going to happen is that he is either going to fight. He has two people that he's looking at fighting. One, if he fights in the United States, the other if he fights in Europe. If he fights in the United States, it's going to be Andy Ruiz. If he fights over there in the UK, it's going to be Robert Helenius. But in either situation, the WBC is allowing Tyson Fury to keep his belts and are not stripping him, but it's going to be a non-title fight. Now, the reason why it's a non-title fight is because Tyson Fury is not fighting the WBC mandatory, who is Dillian Whyte, because Dillian Whyte, for some crazy reason, and I don't get what it is in arbitration with the WBC in order to get them to mandate a fight that they've already mandated. I don't understand, and I have not gotten sufficient clarity into why he's even going into arbitration with the WBC. They've already ordered the fight with Tyson Fury. Now, more importantly than that, Bob Arum is saying that they are okay with fighting Dillian Whyte right now, that the problem is how much money Dillian Whyte is trying to make for the fight. And he's saying that Dillian Whyte and Eddie Hearn are demanding $10 million for the fight. And Bob Arum and those guys are saying, look, man, the money's not in it for that fight. There's not $10 million to pay because the fight is just not that big, right? Now, I got my opinion of it is two ways, right? First of all, you know, there's a lot of criticism for Tyson Fury for whenever he fought Deontay Wilder, which were tough fights, right? But then dipping off and going from fighting a tough fight to getting a bunch of pushovers, to getting pushover fights, like what he did when he came out. He fought Sefi Safiri and Pineda. Then he fought Deontay Wilder. Then after that, he had two soft touch fights in Tom Schwartz, I think you pronounce it Schwartz, Tom Schwartz, and then Otto Wallen, and then he went to fight Deontay Wilder. He tries to get out of the Deontay Wilder fight and fight somebody else, but then he's forced to fight Deontay Wilder, right? And this would kind of go with the same pattern to Tyson Fury going to fight more soft touches in the welterweight, in the heavyweight division, and not fighting the more difficult fights, right? But for me, I have to be honest with you, I do not really think that that's the case here, because if he was to fight Andy Ruiz, I think Andy Ruiz is every bit as good a fight as Dillian Whyte. Dillian Whyte is somebody that is one of the more overrated fighters in boxing, in my opinion. I've literally seen the guy lose fights that I thought he lost to Oscar Rivas. They had the scorecards unnecessarily, I didn't agree with the scorecards in the Oscar Rivas fight. I've literally seen him get knocked out by Alexander Povetkin. I've seen him get knocked out by Anthony Joshua. He just happens to be a guy that has a very big promoter, and a promoter that is pushing for fights with him. And he's obviously also got a very, very big mouth, crying about how he had been mandatory for 90 million days against Deontay Wilder, where Dillian Whyte, all he really had to do in order to fight Deontay Wilder is just take the route that the WBC gave him to be mandatory. They said WBC had ordered Dillian Whyte to fight Luis Ortiz before Luis Ortiz got the fight with Deontay Wilder, the second fight. They had also ordered Dillian Whyte to fight Dominic Breazeale when Dominic Breazeale was mandatory for Deontay Wilder. If he would have beat Dominic Breazeale, he would have got that fight. So now you got Dillian Whyte doing the same thing again for some reason in court, arguing with the WBC about getting a fight that Tyson Fury says and Bob Arum says that they would take. And I don't see any risk in that fight really for Tyson Fury at all against Dillian Whyte. It's just that Dillian Whyte is probably going to want, like they say, more money than what the guy is worth. And the very interesting thing in the heavyweight division that I'm looking forward to see is exactly who really is in the heavyweight division going to really be a big attraction in a boxing match. Now, if Anthony Joshua if Tyson Fury was to fight Andy Ruiz in the United States, I do think that there would be some interest for the fight. Just off of hearing when I heard that he was considering Andy Ruiz, in the back of my mind, I said, oh, okay, man, I might be interested in watching that fight. But am I going to be willing to watch that? Am I going to be willing to travel to Vegas for that fight and pay big money on tickets to watch that fight? Or am I going to be willing to pay pay-per-view for that fight? Probably not, man. It's Andy Ruiz is a guy that already lost to Anthony Joshua. Anthony Joshua's a guy that lost to Alexander Usyk and is trying to get his belt back. And Andy Ruiz didn't really look all that spectacular when I saw him fight Chris Arreola in his last fight. As far as Tyson Fury versus Robert Helenius, almost no excitement in that fight whatsoever. The only real fight I do believe that may have, there's a couple fights that really I think could bring about big dollars in that division. And that is as far as people genuinely being interested in the fight. If some reason Anthony Joshua were able to beat Alexander Usyk and beat him or knock him out and win in some convincing fashion, then I think some people will probably be interested in Tyson Fury versus Anthony Joshua. If Anthony Joshua did not beat Alexander Usyk, I do believe that there are people that would be interested in a fight between Anthony Joshua and Deontay Wilder. But that combination of fights are the only ones that I really think are going to be big fights moving forward. So for Dillian Whyte to ask for, $10 million to fight Anthony Joshua, where is that money going to come from? I don't think that to fight Tyson Fury. Tyson Fury, from what I see, does not have the fanfare and all of that stuff that Anthony Joshua had when there was real legitimate, like organic, interest in Anthony Joshua. It just kind of seems to me, and this is obviously me from looking on the outside in. I don't really get a feel of what's going on in UK boxing, but I do know that the dollars in those fights is going to be there's probably going to be a $30 million, $40 million fight tops. So for these guys, or $30 million top fights, I don't believe that it's going to be a $50 million fight, not like the Anthony Joshua versus Vladimir Klitschko. There's just not that much energy behind it. So for those guys to ask for $10 million for the fight just doesn't make sense to me, because there probably isn't $10 million in the fight for Tyson Fury. And full well Tyson Fury's not fighting that guy 50-50. My understanding is that they're asking for, I think they said that Frank Warren said that Eddie Hearn and those guys think it's a 60-40 fight, and those guys are looking for something like 80-20. But it'll be real interesting, man. And I think that probably the odds-on bet would be for him to fight Andy Ruiz, because at least coming over in the United States, you do have the ability to maybe sell some big tickets, sell big tickets to Mexican fans in Vegas that might be willing to see their ex-champion fight. They may be able to, get some decent pay-per-views in the United States if they did it, or basically do a good gate. But I don't know, man. I just don't think that there's a lot of money in these heavyweight fights that don't include either Anthony Joshua or Deontay Wilder. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. We'll see what happens. My favorite for that was probably be Andy Ruiz, but we'll see. And honestly, obviously, Tyson Fury doesn't have a boxing license in the UK yet, but that may not at the end be that big a deal. But anyway, that's my take on the matter. You let me know what you think in the comment section. And with that, I'm out. Peace.